Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. As Devin said, I'm Julie Moore, and I'm the director here at the Iredell County Public Library. And I'm excited to be able to talk with you all about building relationships with government officials and stakeholders. And of course, as we all know, libraries are much more than books, which is the message that we need to convey to all of our government officials and stakeholders. So a little bit about me. I've worked at the Iredell County Public Library for 20 years. One of the things I'm most passionate about is having a positive impact on the community. I've always aspired to be a lifelong learner, and I participate in trainings and attend professional development opportunities whenever possible. Um, I'm motivated by leadership and mentoring, and this picture in the lower left-hand corner is one of the cohorts of the North Carolina Leadership Association Leadership Institute with the Library Association. And if you all are interested in leadership, leading from where you are, you don't have to be a supervisor. I highly recommend you considering participating in the Leadership Institute. And I also am married and I have 4 kids, 6 grandchildren, and 2 dogs. And my granddogs would be upset if I didn't mention them. There are 4 granddogs that I have, and they're always happy to see me when I go to my kids' houses. And the picture at the top is my husband and myself and our 6 grandchildren, who are ranging from the age of 1 to 12 now. So that's a little bit about me. My leadership philosophy, which has a lot to do with how I build relationships with stakeholders and community leaders, is one of those things is I have an open door policy. And my open door policy is with employees, the public, elected officials, community partners, and staff from other libraries. So this applies to all of you too. If ever you have questions after this presentation, my contact information will be at the end, and feel free to reach out to me. Another philosophy I have is setting standards and living with them. And what I mean by this is I think about how a decision I make now will be perceived in the future, or how it might be affected in the future. I always like to say, employees don't forget things. So if you make an exception for one employee as you're making those decisions, you kind of need to determine, would you make this exception or decision for every employee? Because you want to make sure you're being fair and equitable across the board. I'm also not political. I'm here for all. I've always been registered unaffiliated. I don't discuss politics. I feel like my political beliefs or values should not be intertwined with the ability to do my job. I don't ever want to be pigeonholed because one side or the other or anywhere in between feels like they're making a judgment based on something political they know about me either direction. And as we all know, libraries are for everyone. And it's my job to make sure everyone in the community is served and reflected in the collection that we have. I also highly recommend being polite, treat people the way you want to be treated, always showing respect. And I always promote the culture of we. By nature, I'm a fly below the radar person. I'm introverted, but extroverted when talking about things I'm passionate about. And I always approach things from a culture of we, because together as a team, we can do so much and we can accomplish so much more. A little bit about the library. The Iredell County Public Library has 3 locations. We recently added a mobile library. Last year, we conducted a staff-led strategic planning process. We kept the same mission, vision, and values, as you can see here on the slide, but we updated our goals. So that was a really great opportunity for staff to lead lead the charge for a strategic plan, and it was very successful. The cover, we also designed it in-house, so this was designed by our marketing librarian, and she just did a fabulous job showing all the different ways that we're involved with the community. And as we all know, because we work in libraries, libraries are so much more than books. It's important for us to toot our own horn and share all the wonderful things that we do to support the communities that we serve. And people always think that we're only books. So it's our job to be able to show them all of the things that we are in the community and all of the things we have to offer. So, knowing that, portraying that we're a community hub, providing a place for people to meet, study, learn, work, whether self-employed or performing remote work, that we bridge the digital divide. We provide internet access. We lend laptops and hotspots. We provide computer classes and trainings. We promote early literacy through story times and reading initiatives like 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten and free play pre-K programs in our youth services departments. Libraries serve as connectors. We have community partners, and we provide programming services such as Master Gardener programs and seed libraries. We have community navigators in some of our libraries who serve as social workers or social work interns. We provide fitness and entertainment. We provide video streaming services and NC State Park passes, story walks, exercise classes, and more. We also act as collaborators, partnering with organizations in the community that align with the library's mission, goal, and vision. We'll discuss some of the many partners we collaborate with later in the presentation. And of course, we meet the needs of the community because ultimately the library strives to meet the needs of the community. And we as an institution are ever changing and aware of what is going on in our communities outside of our four walls, and we meet the people where they are through community outreach. The picture here that we have on this slide is when we had the Smithsonian's Voices and Votes Democracy in America exhibit at our library last year. And on our opening day, one of the charter schools that we collaborate with, they brought all of their fourth or fifth grade through eighth grade students to the ribbon cutting ceremony. And the kids had lots of great questions. Someone was in attendance from NC Humanities, and they were having conversations with the director from NC Humanities. And she was just so impressed with how much the students enjoyed it. We have had interactive components that we had added, and then all the great questions they had. And just another great service that we offered to the community. Now, the reason we're all interested in being here is the task of building trust with county leadership and our stakeholders. So one of the ways that you can build trust is, first off, you need to help them understand the library's mission, realize that we're more than books. A good example of this is when one of our commissioners was elected to the Board of Commissioners in Iredell County, probably 5 years ago now. He had never served as a commissioner or as an elected official, and he was on a committee when the commissioners had these committees over different departments, and they reviewed our strategic goals. And so, of course, first for him to understand our strategic goals, he had to understand what we did. And his first comment to me was, well, you guys are just books. Like, how do you keep up with the times? And, what do you do? And so when he came to the library and visited with me and learned about what we did, he was really blown away. He had no idea all the ways that we stayed relevant and that we shifted and changed to meet the needs of the community. And now when you meet him, he'll tell you, when I first met Julie, I thought the library was only books, and they do so many great things over there. So he definitely shares what we do out in the community, which is really, really important. And again, be polite and respectful, because your elected officials that you're dealing with may not have the same political values or beliefs that you have. But I like to say, no matter which party I'm talking to, they probably maybe think that I'm voting for them, either side of the party, because I'm just very neutral and I try to stay on topic of sharing about the library and not getting super political, and then aligning like their goals or their agendas with things that the library does to show how we can support some of their goals. It's also important to have consistent messaging, and it's also important to make sure that your staff knows that they're putting forth the library message, not their own message. So certain times, that's more important than others. One example I would say in the last several years um, would be during COVID, because we had, the spectrum of what people's thoughts, beliefs, or feelings were for COVID. So I would just remind my staff that when you're talking to the public, you're putting forth the library message or the county message, how the county is handling this situation. It's not how you feel about it, but this is the framework in which we're operating, because this is the county message. Another example would be, over the past several years, we've had concerns of challenges with the books of the public coming in. So we again had a specific message or kind of dialogue, written notes for staff to use. So that way they were just giving the library message and not bringing in their own personal thoughts one way or the other about materials that were being challenged. As I previously mentioned, it's really important to show how the library supports their goals. So when you help them understand the library's mission and you share about programs and services, then you're also able to show how work that the library does aligns with and supports their goals. And then again, we're not political here at the library, that we are here for everyone. And it's important to make sure that people realize that, because it shows what a trusted institution we are when we're here for everyone. Devin, do we have any questions or thoughts so far, or am I good to keep going?
You are good to keep going. Folks, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, but so far we don't have any.
Perfect, because I can't see the chat, so I'm just going, just keep going. Okay, so the next opportunity you have to build relationships with your elected officials and stakeholders is through communication. I encourage everyone to always have your elevator speech ready to go. You never know when or where you'll be when someone strikes up a conversation or makes a comment or asks a question about the library. And so always have your elevator speech ready. I also encourage you to present to your town or county boards. That helps to make sure that they're aware of the great work that you're doing. In Iredell, it's also very beneficial because out of our 3 libraries, 2 of them are owned by the town, but the county staffs and fills the library. So for example, since we just recently did our updated strategic plan, I'm presenting to the town of Troutman tonight about our strategic plan, and then I'll share any specifics that are located or that are surround the Troutman Library that would be of interest to the town council. And then next month, I will do the same thing with the town of Harmony. It just brings goodwill. It makes them be aware, again, of the work that's being done, and shows them the importance of it. Well, they'll be continuing to support us. I also encourage everyone to share the impact that libraries have. We go before the county commissioners quite a bit to present items, whether it's applying for grants or giving updates, for example, about our strategic plan. But we also make sure that every year we go before the county commissioners in April for National Library Week, in September for Library Card Sign Up Month. And each of these times we request them to proclaim the specific event that's happening in that month for Library Week or Sign Up Month. And we always provide statistics to them. We share stories, provide updates about the library, share new programs, the success of summer reading, any way that we can show the positive impact that we're having. I would also suggest writing articles for your local newspaper. We also put out press releases. We've been doing more of this year with promoting new programs, new services, the addition of our mobile library. The Iredell County America 250 committee is being the chair of that for the county. So we've had several press releases that have gone out about that, just showing the work that we're doing, inviting the public to be part of that. So really try to get yourself out there in the news. So we have our list of media contacts that we send all of our press releases to. And typically our local newspapers and the radio stations are really good about sharing those press releases with the public. I also, we like to present to local organizations, local civic organizations. A few of those we have presented to would be local Rotary clubs. There are quite a few here in the area, and we'll get asked to come present. Sometimes they'll make donation to our friend group, sometimes they don't, but it's always a great way to get the word out about what we're doing. The Kiwanis Club, we've presented to DAR. Local churches have asked our local history department to do programs for their congregations. We presented to the NAACP, local women's clubs. And all of that really gets the library recognized. And the picture here is back in 2023, we received an award from the Statesville Chamber of Commerce, where we were nominated for the Community Impact Award for 2022 because of the positive impact that the library has on the community. And so this is a group of employees from the library that went that night to receive the award. And we had county commissioners reserved a table, and a couple attended with us and sat with us, which was really great. And it made staff feel really good to not only be recognized in the community, but also have like the county commissioners make the effort to come attend the event with us. So we've touched on this a little bit about what to present, but also we want to talk about what and how to communicate. So what to present? Statistics and updates are always a great item to present, especially when your statistics can show increases in the services you're offering or justify requests that you may have. That's especially helpful when I'm presenting the library budget to the county commissioners. I always make sure I have my justifications and my statistics showing to validate my request, those positive impacts, and personal stories. If you have personal stories, if your library has helped someone obtain a job or a special certification, or adults that were low-level readers, maybe improving their reading, like share those positive impacts that you have. get the proclamation signed, to always make sure that the elected officials are aware of the work that you're doing. That's always a positive time to get in front of the commissioners. You're not asking for anything. It doesn't cost them anything, but you're able to share those positive stories. And then also with whoever you're meeting with, those shared goals, showing them how their mission and vision aligns with the library mission and vision, and how we are there to support them. The ways you can share impacts are through emails or calls, inviting stakeholders and elected officials to library events. You can also share these in person. And an example of a library event that would be a great thing to invite people to would be, we're having our ribbon cutting for our mobile library next week. And so we had a state representative who was very instrumental in getting $100,000 grant from the state for our mobile library. And so we made sure when we scheduled our ribbon cutting that the representative was available to attend. We also invited all of our county commissioners, the mayors from the towns that own the libraries that we run. We also invited our senator. And then on the federal level, we invited both North Carolina senators and our House representative. Pat Harrigan happens to be our House representative. And this year, I was fortunate enough to be able to participate in Voices for Libraries, which was an amazing event. As I've said earlier, I'm not very political. I don't like to talk politics. I'm introverted by nature, but Voices for Libraries was a program where the chief officers of the State Library Association was organizing people from every state to come to DC to talk to their representatives. And it wasn't political at all. You were just sharing the impact, the positive impact that libraries had on the communities that these representatives served. And it was great because we could look at what the representatives' goals or agendas or policies they were interested in. And when we went and met with them, we could highlight those different things that the libraries did, whether it was workforce development or broadband, like access, bridging the digital divide, entrepreneurship, early literacy. It was really interesting the ways that their aides, the questions that some of the aides would ask if the representative wasn't available, that the interest they had in our grants and programs that we offered. And it was like I said, it was nice because it wasn't political at all. You were talking about the good works that you're doing, and they were able to see the positive impact that libraries have on the community and how we align with their goals. And community partners are also a big part of what we do. Here in Iredell in particular, we love to collaborate, and kind of our philosophy is work smarter, not harder, especially when other organizations have similar interests or goals or align very closely with what we're doing. One way that we partner with our schools is we're an NC Cardinal library. So we have student access, student ID accounts for all of our charter schools and public schools. Several of our charter schools actually use us as their library. So for example, Success Institute Charter School comes to the library every week, and our youth services department sometimes has special programs or trainings for them. Other times they're here just solely to select books. We also have another charter school that's downtown that brings certain grades to us to use the library. We partner with lots of county departments that we've partnered in the past with the extension office, especially doing like healthy food demonstrations. A lot of the 4-H agents will come do programs for us. We partner with Iredell County Parks and Rec, the Board of Elections, Animal Services, the Health Department, the Department of Social Services. Some of the partnerships are more in depth than others, like social services. We have little free libraries in their lobbies. The health department has a new like mobile health unit, and they have like one day a month where they're parked in each of our library parking lots to provide health services to that area in the community. We also do a lot of partnering with our municipalities. Some of those are, like I said, the town of Harmony or the town of Troutman, where those towns own the buildings that the library is housed in. But for example, the town of Mooresville is a municipality, but it also has its own library, but we collaborate with the Mooresville Library on certain programs or initiatives, and then other town departments too. So these are just a few, not all inclusive of our organizations that we currently partner with. Let's see. We have implemented a lot of programs and services through grant funding. Some of those are laptop lending, story walks. We implemented self-check about 8 years ago. This past year, we were able to get study booth or Zen booths through an LSTA grant. We received our mobile library on June 18th after 2 long years of waiting for that to be ready. So we're really excited about that. We've done sensory kits, and we've done digitation of files and microfilm. One of the really fun story walk initiatives we did with grant funds was we installed a story walk at the Bentley Center, which is a Statesville Recreation and Parks park. And when we were thinking of the story that we would install, there was a young boy from American Renaissance School, Xavier Zarmani, who's pictured in the black t-shirt with the red book on the cover. And his dad, Xavier Sr., is in the blue shirt and his mom is in the purple shirt, but Xavier Jr. and Sr. wrote a book together. And so we thought it would be really fun to have that book be the first book for the story walk. And when we did the ribbon cutting ceremony for it, we invited Success Institute Charter School to attend the ribbon cutting. And then Xavier Jr. and Sr. came and they read the book to the students. Well, they were so excited about doing that. And Xavier attended another charter school that the other charter school, Xavier's classmates were bussed over and able to be there too. And so this is a picture with Xavier and all of his classmates who had attended the ribbon cutting and were able to hear his book that he and his dad wrote. We also have a lot of grant funded programs with partnership support. Like I mentioned, we had the story walks. We currently have 3 story walks installed, and they've all had various levels of partnership support in partnering with different organizations. So we have the one with Xavier at the Bentley Center that is a City of Statesville, has recreation and park. So that was in a Statesville park. We're hoping to install a story walk at Jennings Park, which is an Iredell County park, but we already have a story walk at Scott's Rosenwald Park, which is also a county park in the western part of the county. And that's been really successful. And a local media outlet sponsors the story walks by purchasing all of the books or reimbursing us for all of the books we purchase for the story walks. So that's been a great partnership. We also have student access courier service. So student access is our student ID accounts. But several years ago, we wrote a grant to provide courier service to the schools, because we know it's great that every student has a library card with their ID number, but it still doesn't change when there's transportation issues and other issues getting to the library. So we wrote a grant to be able to have students request materials from their school media center through a computer in their school media center. We check the items out and we put them in a special bag. We partnered with the school system and they deliver the books to the students' media center along with their mail that they deliver to the schools. So we've been doing courier service for probably 6 or 7 years now, and that's been really successful. The teachers also have access to the courier service, so the ones who have figured it out know that they can also request their own pleasure reading material that gets sent to the media center. And then when they're done with it, they return it and it gets put back in the bag. And as we drop stuff off, where the mail for the school system is all sorted, we pick up any returns. So that's been a great partnership. We've done sensory story time and sensory kits and training. That was all in conjunction with the Iredell County Partnership for Young Children when we wrote a grant to provide sensory story time and make sensory kits. We wanted all of our staff to be trained. So the partnership came in and provided training for our staff. We conducted a ground penetrating radar survey of the Green Street Cemetery. And this collaboration, we partnered with the city of Statesville, the Statesville NAACP. This is an African-American cemetery, downtown Statesville Development Corporation, and to add the Green Street Cemetery to the historic walk that they have. And also, we're really excited about this. We just received a grant this year to get a Charlie cart. We actually just put the purchase order in yesterday, and we're collaborating with the extension office to with the 4-H representative, and she's going to come in and do some training and also provide some programs that go along with the Charlie Cart culinary literacy curriculum. And then, as I mentioned previously, we're the Iredell County America 250 NC. We have a grant from the state of North Carolina, and we're in the process of publishing the Heritage of Iredell County Volume 3. The grant that we receive will help offset that, but the actual Iredell County Committee is made up of representatives from across the county, from municipalities, organizations, nonprofits, schools, and it's great to have that cohesiveness of everyone working together. We want to share some of our wins. So this picture here is Grace, our outreach librarian, and this is the day that our vehicle was delivered. So that was very exciting. We had been waiting, as I said, a really long time, and she was super excited to finally have the vehicle. Grace was hired in January, so she's been spending a lot of time planning our mobile library routes and doing research and implementing policies and all the things. So she was glad to be able to see the vehicle come to fruition. But so our wins would be grant support, promotion, where other organizations are promoting the things that we're doing, outreach. We've really been asked as we get more known out in the community, we get asked a lot to come be part of different programs and events, which is great because, you know, again, we love to collaborate. All of the collaborations that we've made. We have many new programs and services. We have strengthened relationships, and we have lots of new opportunities. And these have all come, all of these wins have come from us building those relationships with, you know, elected officials and stakeholders and nonprofits that are in the community, which has been really exciting to see, like all of that growth and support that has happened. So the end results are that officials and stakeholders, they'll be on board for support. And the most exciting one is that the officials and stakeholders will become acquaintances that are turned into cheerleaders. This doesn't just happen overnight. Building those relationships takes time, but it's definitely worth it, putting the effort into it. They'll also trust your judgment, and that's very important when you can have some challenges from the community, from members that may not agree with what you're doing or having their own ideas, that these government officials and these stakeholders know you well enough that they trust your judgment. They buy into your vision, which a lot of times our vision is also their vision, but they buy into your vision and they support your requests. So when you have ideas for programs or services or collaborations or grants, and you go to those organizations or those stakeholders or elected officials, and you need a letter of support, or you need you have questions for them, they will support those requests because they believe in the work that you're doing. So I know that was a lot of information, but I just am happy to answer any questions that you all may have, or about grants or relationships or whatever it may be that you all would like to know. And as always, like I said, I have an open door policy and my contact information is here. So please feel free, even after this presentation, if you think of questions or have comments, to reach out to me. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Devin.
Yeah, thank you so much, Julie. Folks, do we have any questions? Feel free to share them in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand and unmute yourself. Oh, great. We have a question asking, do you do most of the outreach and relationship building yourself? If not, how do you organize staff around this goal?
I do not do all of it myself. I have a really amazing management team. We did, as I said, we just hired a specific outreach librarian in January, but prior to that, we had been expanding. Excuse me, we had been expanding our outreach to strategically ask for the mobile library and the outreach librarian position. So we have our youth services department does a lot of outreach. The youth services manager will go to special events, to the like Crosby Scholars or back to school nights, or open houses at the beginning of the school year. Another person in youth services that primarily does like story times. She goes to our daycares and brings, the daycares can request like 25 to 50 items each month. And when she's dropping those off, she also does a story time every month at the NC pre-K daycares in the county. We have 2 people in our adult services / circulation department that do a lot of outreach to seniors. So we have one person who does homebound and institution deliveries, and we have another person who does a lot of outreach with senior centers, um, and the nursing homes and different organizations that cater to seniors. They provide programs, so they collaborate a lot with that demographic. We have our local history department that does lots of programs for churches, schools, local civic organizations will request that they come share about resources or do a particular program. Our branches, our branches do outreach in their particular area of the county, whether it's for seniors or daycares. So we really have, it's across all departments, and it was growing exponentially. So it was really time to get an outreach librarian so that everything could be filtered through that one position and kind of cleared, even if the outreach librarian may not be at the particular event, that it was all kind of housed in one area, and and that way nothing was left out. Does that answer your question?
Awesome. We have not a question, but someone sharing in the chat. I also recommend having library staff as members of civic groups like Rotary. I joined a local club recently, and it's been a great way to build relationships across so many sectors.
Yes, I totally agree with that. When I was the branch manager in Troutman, I was part of the Troutman Rotary Club, and I built lots of great relationships with members of that club. And you're right, you need to build your network, and networks take time.
Mhm.
So the more time you spend, the larger your network.
We have a question in the chat now. What strategies do you employ in the pursuit of grant funds, specifically those involved with other community partners? How do you get everyone on board?
We apply for as many grants as possible. My assistant director handles the majority of the grants. The county just hired a new grants management coordinator, which has been really helpful because they go out looking for grants. So they'll share information with us about grants that they find that may pertain to work that we're doing. But as far as community partners, it depends on the type of grant it is. So if the grant does not have a matching amount and it's something that could solely primarily be done in-house without the need of having a collaboration ahead of time, we would write the grant and then talk with the partner. A lot of the partnerships that we have come from being able to receive a reduced match, or on the other hand, really specifically needing their assistance, but receiving a reduced match is one of the big reasons for our collaborations. So for example, with the courier service grant, we received a reduced match. Instead of 25%, it was a 10% match. And then the matching funds could be in kind. So for the school system delivering our materials with their interoffice mail became like the in-kind match for for the service they provided, because for us to drive and deliver those materials would have cost a lot of money for like mileage reimbursement or for gas. The Green Street Cemetery grant, that was a very big collaboration because the cemetery is maintained by the city of Statesville, which the main library here is in the city of Statesville, but we're a county department. So we collaborated with the city to first get permission to be able to, conduct the ground penetrating radar. And then we involved the NAACP because it was an African American cemetery and we wanted to make sure that we had support from the community. And then we involved downtown Statesville because they had a historic walk and a walking tour, and we wanted to be able to add this specific destination as a stop on the walking tour. So it really just depends on the type of grant, but we've applied for grants through Lowe's, through Walmart, through Dollar General, LSTA grants, NC Humanities grants. We've applied, we're getting ready to apply for a Duke Energy Foundation grant. When we have an idea of something that we want to do, a project or a program or a service that we want to be able to provide, then we go out looking for grant funding to support that and then make our collaboration determinations from there. And if you have additional questions about that or want to chat more about it, please feel free to call me.
Yeah, thank you for providing examples of like different types of grants that the library is pursuing. We have a comment in the chat saying to reach out to senior residences. I established a very popular outreach in town. I visit one particular senior community every 2 weeks. We have over 100 cards there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been, our outreach librarian did kind of a card drive this summer, going out to the assisted livings and nursing homes ahead of time and had a set time she went to each one to do like card drives to sign people up to get them excited about us starting to come out into the community. So our mobile library just went live last week on September 2nd. And so it's been really, really well received. And at some of the nursing homes and assisted livings, they've issued additional cards other than just the ones that they did this summer during the card drive.
Nice. That's awesome. And that's such a good way to be able to like bring the library to so many different groups that may not be able to come into the library spaces in person.
And that was our whole goal with the mobile library. We had previously had a bookmobile and it was at end of life around 2009, 2010. And that was during, not a great economic time. So replacing it wasn't realistic, but now we thought it was time to bring it back, but it would be something different than the big bus that went on in the community, which is why we keep stressing it as more of a mobile library, trying to meet the community where they are, get into those underserved areas, and serve people who like get outside of the four walls and meet people, like I said, meet people where they are and make sure everyone has access, whether it's for Wi-Fi or, just selecting a few books or learning about our services because we're at an event. But it's been really well received. And another program that was started in conjunction with the mobile library, not a grant funded program, but a big collaboration, was Special Olympics has a young athletes program. And it's for ages 2 to 7 for children with and without disabilities to learn, just get all those fine motor skills and have fun and they have like a curriculum, and they didn't have one in our area. So our outreach librarian was really interested in starting that. And so the Special Olympics in Iredell County is part of the city of Statesville's Recreation and Parks Department. They are like the main person for Special Olympics. So we contacted them. They were interested in starting a young athletes program, and we wanted to have it be in different locations in the county. So we have, again, one city park and one county park. And so when it's at the city park have Special Olympics people, volunteers, or staff members that run the program that's at the city park. And then when it's at the county park, Iredell County Parks and Rec has staff members that run the particular program that week. But we're also bringing the mobile library. We're signing people up for cards. Families can check materials out. And that's been a really great collaboration, building that collaboration and getting ready for young athletes. And that just started last week on September 4th. And so we're really looking forward to seeing how that program progresses too. But with Jennings Park, which is the county park, they just did a big remake, like $30 million park makeover with all of these amazing fields and places. But one of the Parks and Rec staff members wrote a grant and received a $500,000 grant to install an accessible playground. So we also wanted to be able to showcase this accessible playground they had. So when we have young athletes at Jennings Park, then it'll also make people aware that this playground is there, because a lot of people aren't aware of that it exists. So we just love to be able to put other departments and locations.
It's so nice to find different partners within local government that have projects that line up with what the library's doing, and it's just like a natural fit to kind of bring the library to them and reach them. All right, folks. Any final questions before we wrap up? All right. Well, we will wrap up with a little bit of time before 3 o'clock. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Julie, as always, this was incredibly helpful, hearing all of these examples and approaches to outreach and how your leadership philosophy plays into that. And folks sharing in the chat a lot of valuable information and their appreciation. You will receive the follow-up email tomorrow with the slides, the feedback survey, and then the link to the month-long series webpage, so you can see some other webinars happening this month. But thank you all so much for joining this Thursday afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Take care, everybody.